Why does Jay-Z allegedly think that there is a fair chance he will be in jail by the time Labor Day has rolled around? We will find out.
Jay would be like, you think he's better than me? Watch me grind with X, and he was off with the hitman. And then something strange happened when I made Get At Me Dog.
Whoa, did you hear that? A sex ring? Women being passed around like property? This is some dark stuff, besties. It's like we're peeling back the glitzy curtain of hip-hop royalty and finding something seriously twisted underneath. Now, on the surface, Jay-Z and Diddy look like the ultimate power couple in the rap game. These two hustlers turned their rhymes into billions, and they've been flexing their success for years. But according to Irv Gotti, there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes.
Oh, you put that thing on the woo!
So you see how we do it here on Saturdays, just as good as feeling good?
Don't play. Oh, you put that thing on the woo!
Ooh, the tea is scalding. It looks like Diddy's carefully crafted image is starting to crack, and Jay-Z might be next. But before we dive into the juicy details, let's talk about our whistleblower, Irv Gotti. For those of you who might not know, Irv Gotti isn't just some random dude throwing shade. He's been deep in the hip-hop game since the beginning. Irv is the founder of Murder Inc. Records, but his story goes way deeper than that. Back in the day, Irv was known as Irving Lorenzo Jr. Not exactly a name that strikes fear into the hearts of your enemies, right? Well, that's where Jay-Z comes in. Jay actually helped Irv toughen up his image by suggesting the name Irv Gotti. And just like that, a hip-hop mogul was born. But Irv's connection to Jay-Z and the rap world goes back even further. Before he was running Murder Inc., Irv had his fingers in all sorts of hip-hop pies. He produced tracks for Jay-Z's iconic Reasonable Doubt album, including the classic Can I Live? And let's not forget about DMX. Irv was the mastermind behind DMX's debut album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot. We're talking 1996, besties. Hip-hop was evolving from street mixtapes to global domination, and Irv was right there in the thick of it. By 1997, he was making moves that would change the game forever. He helped Def Jam sign DMX, and boom, DMX's first album sold 250,000 copies in its first week. And remember, this was before streaming. We're talking physical copies, people. Irv's success with Jay-Z and DMX caught the attention of Leor Cohen, who gave Irv his own record label, Murder Inc. The name wasn't just for show either. Irv got the idea from a gangster documentary he watched on A&E. Talk about branding. Now, if you were around in the early 2000s, you know that the hip-hop scene wasn't just about music, it was full-on warfare, and Irv found himself smack in the middle of one of the biggest feuds in music history, Murder Inc. versus G-Unit. This wasn't just about diss tracks, besties. We're talking real violence with fists thrown and shots fired. It got so intense that Murder Inc. eventually rebranded to The Inc., trying to distance themselves from all the drama. But here's a little-known fact that'll blow your mind. Irv almost created a hip-hop supergroup with Jay-Z, DMX, and J. Rule. Can you imagine? These three on an album together would have been insane. They even appeared on magazine covers as a group, but sadly, it never happened. Egos got in the way, with each of them thinking they were the best. It was a recipe for greatness, but also for destruction. So, why is Irv Gotti dragging out all these old skeletons now? What's he seen behind closed doors that he's been keeping quiet about for so long? Well, besties, it seems like Irv's got a lot of dirt, and he's no longer afraid to spill it. At first, everything was cool between Irv, Jay-Z, and Diddy. But things went sour faster than milk left out in the sun. Now Irv's out here spilling tea about Jay's other shady relationships, especially with Dame Dash. And let me tell you, Jay's rise to the top wasn't as clean as his billion-dollar smile might suggest. Speaking of billions, Irv had no problem throwing shade at Jay's billionaire status.
Jay-Z a billionaire. He's a billionaire because of Rockaware clothing. He's a billionaire because of title. He sold that. He bagged up, what, $200 million from Sprint. He paid 56 for it. He bagged up all of that. Now he still owns 66%. He's free rolling. Douce, you know what I'm saying? His liquor, Ace of Spades. If you want to be a billionaire, you have to start a brand and create a company that is evaluated at something. You see what I'm saying? If you just...
Ooh, the shade. Jay-Z might have sold Tidal for a cool $200 million after buying it for $56 million, but Irv's questioning how legit that journey really was. It's not just about music anymore, besties. We're talking liquor brands, clothes, and connections. Jay turned himself into a brand, but was it all just luck and hustle? According to Irv, if you want to hit that billion-dollar mark, you've got to step beyond music. He points out that Drake, who's arguably the biggest artist of our time, isn't quite at billionaire status yet. Why? Because Drake's still focused on music.
They don't talk about Drake as a billionaire. Drizzy probably got a couple hundred, you know what I'm saying? He needs to do something out other than music to get to the Billy.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Jay's out here diversifying like a Wall Street pro. He knew music alone wasn't enough, so he started flipping businesses, deals, and brands like it was second nature. And you know Diddy's got that same energy too.
So as a hustler, he says this in his rhymes. He says, you know, what did he say? He said, if you'd have asked me if I'd have sold jeans not in my right mind, not in this lifetime, nigga, but he said, but that's the difference that between me. I open the market up. So even though he didn't know, he's a hustler. How much can I get? What? That we can get that? I'm in.
But it's not all champagne and cigars in billionaire land. Irv Gotti brought up the connection between the streets, gangsters, the feds, and hip-hop.
When you look at hip-hop, right, in the 80s, if you sold and you asked the drug dealer, what's your 5-year goal? It would be like this. What's wrong with you? I'm getting it. I'm selling drugs.
Suddenly, dealers started thinking about their 5-year plans, not just in terms of money, but in terms of building businesses. Hip-hop opened the doors for a whole new generation of black entrepreneurs.
That dealer the same question in the 90s. Yo, what's your 5-year goal? He gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna like 5 million, 10 million, and then I'm gonna sign this artist or do this or do something, get a studio. I'm gonna buy something. It's no longer does black people want to just sell drugs, or at least the smart ones. They're gonna dive into another.
Now, let's talk Def Jam days when Jay-Z and Dame Dash were running the show. It's no secret that Jay and Dame eventually fell out hard, but Irv Gotti had front row seats to the drama, and he's got some wild stories to share. When Irv first stepped into the Def Jam offices, he was gunning for DMX to get signed, but the execs laughed him out of the room.
To sign Ja. First meeting I ever had, I was like, we gotta sign DMX, and they laughed at me. I remember when I left the office, Tina Davis said, she knew what I wanted to sign DMX. She said, DMX don't sell. Your ass is fired.
But then, Get At Me Dog dropped, and everything changed. That song flipped the game, and suddenly DMX was leading a revolution that took hip-hop back to the streets, away from the shiny suits and glitz. Irv was laughing all the way to the bank while Jay watched it unfold.
So fired. It was no more writing on the walls. It was, y'all can get behind me. I used to tell Leo in the midst of the whole staff, and I would tell him, yo, shut the f up, yo. I said, you work better when you shut up and get behind me. Now this is what we doing.
By this point, Gotti had the Def Jam staff locked in. They stopped doubting him and started riding his wave. Jay-Z might have been the golden boy, but DMX was the underdog who came out swinging. Now, if you're not a Jay-Z fan, chances are you're not going to vibe with Diddy either. Irv's been throwing shade left and right, and according to him, Jay and Diddy's legendary friendship might just be the ultimate cover-up. Yeah, they flex their billions, luxury brunches, and rap mogul status, but Irv's saying there's a whole lot of shady business lurking underneath. Irv started with a confession. Right, my brother, I love Puff. Yeah, he can do... yeah. According to Irv, one wild night with Diddy left him more dazed than impressed.
Right.
My brother,
Right.
I love Puff.
Yeah.
He can do drugs.
Yeah.
Fast forward to today, and Irv's going all in on exposing Jay-Z and Diddy's power duo. He's saying their billionaire status isn't just the result of smart business, there's something much darker going on. According to Irv, their friendship is less about brotherhood and more about covering each other's backs in a game that's got way too many skeletons in the closet. But Jay and Diddy aren't just sitting back while Irv pops off. Oh no, they clapped back fast. In classic mogul fashion, they teamed up to flip the script and put the heat back on Irv, dragging him into the spotlight and trying to discredit everything he's been saying. One of the biggest revelations Irv's been pushing? Apparently, Diddy snitched on Suge Knight, Irv Gotti, and Jay Prince back in the day. And Diddy's ex-bodyguard, Gene Deal, is backing up the same claims. According to him, Diddy's been playing both sides for years.
It wasn't the police, it was the feds, one of the persons who was with them. So you got to understand this, right?
According to him, this all went down when Suge Knight was running around Uptown Records like a one-man wrecking crew, and when Diddy was still Puff. He supposedly teamed up with Kirk Burrows and went straight to the feds.
And Puff, Kirk Burrows, that's the other person that was with them. They go up to the feds with all this paperwork, you understand? And I mentioned this before, you understand? They not only talking about the extortion stuff, they talking about how they trying to be made to And to have this what you call this promotion, this distribution thing.
He claims they spilled everything from the extortion to the plans for a black-owned distribution company that Suge was trying to set up with Jay-Z, Irv Gotti, Dame Dash, J Prince, and Death Row. This move would have been massive, shifting the power in the music industry away from the major labels. But apparently Puff wasn't feeling it. So instead of getting in on the action, he allegedly snitched to the feds to shut the whole thing down. But here's the issue. No one's willing to listen to Kirk or Irv. According to Gene, it was all part of a bigger scheme. Suge Knight, who was trying to unite these major players, was targeted because his moves threatened the industry status quo. Gene says Jay and Diddy had someone write up a statement claiming the group was trying to create a monopoly, and that's when the federal charges started raining down on folks like Irv and Rockefeller Records. We all saw what happened. Rockefeller broke up, Murder Inc. went down, and suddenly Jay and Diddy were the last ones standing. Coincidence? Gene and Irv don't think so.
They're the reason why rap in New York went down the drain. They made sure that these young cats didn't come up with platforms and didn't come up with situations.
Now let's rewind to that infamous snitching moment. Gene Deal spilled that he personally rode with Diddy's crew down to FBI headquarters.
If I'm in the car with Kirk Burrows and him and our driver, and we go down to 26 Federal Plaza, I know 26 Federal Plaza is the FBI office. All right? Now, what they went down there and what paperwork they took down there, I did not know until I found out later that he was working with an agent in DC. Puff was hit with a 40 rule because it's called a Rule 40. Because he didn't show up at the agent's office in DC, the New York agent arrested him. He got
But Diddy being Diddy, the charges got thrown out and the case was sealed. Suspicious, right? Gene swears this was the moment he realized Puff had been in bed with the feds all along. But this snitching wasn't a one-off. Gene and Irv claim that Diddy's been playing this game for years, working both sides to keep himself safe while others get caught in the crossfire. And now, people are finally starting to connect the dots. Jay-Z, once seen as untouchable, is being dragged into this mess too. So why now? Why are people suddenly talking? According to Irv, it's because there's nothing left for people to hide. He's painting a picture of a world where women are controlled, exploited, and sold to the highest bidder. The way Gotti tells it, these women were brought into an elite circle under the pretense of partying with the rich and famous. What they didn't know was that they were about to get caught up in something much darker. Gotti claims that Diddy and Jay-Z had a whole system set up. Think private parties, exclusive locations, and lots of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. The women were allegedly sold off, trafficked within this high-profile ring that stretched from Hollywood to the Hamptons. And here's the kicker. The people who knew about it were either paid off, silenced, or disappeared. So how did two of the most untouchable names in the industry pull this off? That's where the power dynamics come into play. Both Diddy and Jay-Z are moguls with ties that go way beyond music. We're talking politicians, billionaires, and people with enough influence to make problems disappear overnight. Gotti's argument is that with so much power, these two could run something as sinister as a sex ring and never get caught. But what about the women? Who are they and why haven't they spoken out? Gotti hints that the women involved in this alleged ring were often silenced by fear, either of losing everything or worse, ending up missing. He also talks about NDAs being thrown around like confetti, with women signing away their rights to ever speak on what happened to them. Even Jaguar Wright has warned us about this.
It's horrifying. And it's all done under the protection of this is going to be paid off. There's another NDA. This is going to be, it's terrible.
Diddy's empire might be built on platinum albums, lavish parties, and billion-dollar deals, but lately it's looking like his kingdom's crumbling. The man who's always been about the hustle is now facing legal drama that's getting harder to dodge. You've probably heard about the 6 new lawsuits that just dropped on him, right? And that's on top of the 120+ other lawsuits that have been hanging over his head like storm clouds. It's wild to think about how the same dude who threw all-white yacht parties is now spending more time dealing with court dates than celebrations. And the hits keep coming. His recent arrest? Not a good look. The case is heating up, and with a trial date looming, it's clear things are going from bad to worse. What used to be whispers about Diddy's shady behavior are now full-blown allegations, and it seems like every day there's a new headline about his legal troubles. While Diddy's busy fighting battles on all fronts, it's becoming harder to ignore the weight of all these accusations stacking up. But hey, if you thought Irv Gotti, who's been vocal about Diddy's mess, was sitting pretty on some high moral ground, think again. Gotti's not exactly clean himself. In fact, he's facing some serious legal heat of his own. This July, Gotti found himself slapped with a sexual assault lawsuit that's got people talking. The woman who filed, under the name Jane Doe, isn't holding back, and the allegations are disturbing. According to her lawsuit, she met Gotti through a mutual friend at a poker tournament in 2020. What seemed like a casual connection quickly turned dark. Gotti invited her on a vacation to St. Martin, and once she was there, things took a turn. Jane Doe claims Gotti coerced her into sex, saying he'd send her home if she didn't comply. And given his power in the music industry, she felt like she had no choice but to go along with his demands. From there, things spiraled into a 2-year abusive relationship. The lawsuit details how Gotti repeatedly forced her into unwanted acts, berating and controlling her throughout their time together. One of the most disturbing claims involves an incident in a Miami Four Seasons elevator in January 2022 where Gotti allegedly forced her into doing unthinkable things. If that wasn't bad enough, Jane Doe says a similar thing happened again during an Uber ride in Atlanta later that year. She's not just seeking justice for the sexual assault. She says the relationship left her so emotionally and psychologically damaged that she ended up in a psychiatric ward. And now, Gotti's been out here allegedly slandering her name to his network in LA, trying to cover his tracks. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire, and with more and more people coming forward to back up Irv's claims, it's looking like Jay and Diddy's empire might not be as squeaky clean as they want us to think. For Diddy and Jay-Z, the fallout from this could be massive. But for the women involved, the ones who were allegedly used, sold, and discarded, it could be the beginning of a much-needed reckoning. So, what do you think, besties? Is Irv Gotti telling the truth, or is this just another case of clout chasing? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next wild revelation. This is Hot Gossip signing off. Stay woke, stay fabulous, and remember, in the world of hip-hop, the truth is often stranger than fiction. Goodbye, fiction. Goodbye, fiction.